Okay, a blessed day, everyone. Welcome again to our very short lecture video. This is very short since it is only about the historical developments of stylistics, and this is made brief because this is not really our main concern for the subject, but at least you'll appreciate its development. So, as a short recap, stylistics is the study of style used in literary and verbal language and the effects the writer or speaker wishes to communicate to the reader or listener. So it is again focused on the style and the language used by the speaker or the writer. Okay, so proceed to historical development. So, as a discipline, it links literary criticism to stylistics. It does not function independently, but it utilizes the principles of inquiry from both linguistics and literary criticism. It does not exist instantly like stylistics is the study of style. No, it owes its existence, or its existence owes to three sources. First is the poetics, second is the rhetoric, and third is the dialectics. What are the difference between the three of this? Poetics, this helped the scholars in the old generation or in Greek time. This helped the scholars to understand what are the laws and principles that go on the construction of language and style in literary works. So assuming that you are the scholar or the language scholar of this generation, and then you keenly observe the language used in in a certain literary work, you will observe what are the principles and laws governing the construction of that language, because even in a single glance you can observe that there is really that principle dominating a certain literary work. So it is not only limited to poetry. Actually, it is on literary works, therefore it also involves other forms of literary works like plays and stories. So next is the rhetoric. What is rhetoric? This is the study of the development of effective speeches. Stylistics also owes its existence to rhetoric, since, again, it is not limited to literary works or written works, but it can also be applied to other forms of discourses, as I said in our previous lecture, like in the sermons of priests and pastors, in the speeches of politicians, and in advertisements. So that's rhetoric. The last is dialectics. What is dialectics? It is the study, or it is the field that focused on the creation of effective dialogue. So this is another field, since it is already a two-way process communication. Therefore, there is already a listener. So there is in an immediate feedback. That's the difference between dialogue and literary works, or in speeches. Because in speeches, there is no immediate feedback. There can be immediate feedback, but it is not given directly to the person speaking. Unlike in dialogues, that there is really an active exchange of ideas. So that's under dialectics. In the 19th century, Richards and William Empson developed an approach in order to concentrate or to focus on the literary texts themselves and how readers were affected by those texts. Therefore, in this analysis, the readers are involved. So perhaps if you will be doing this kind of study, you will be subjecting the readers to different literary works and then try to decipher the effect of a certain literary works to the readers who are participating your study. This approach is often called practical criticism, from the word practical meaning really looking the impact of the literary text in the real context. So this was made since stylistics really is or the style and the language of a certain literary work is suited or accorded to the function of the language. So for example, an elegy is intended for portraying grief, sorrow, or melancholy. So the effect of or the impact of that literary text to the reader might also be melancholic or sorrowful. The readers will also try to sympathize the persona of the elegy. Next, it is matched by a similar critical movement in the USA associated by Clement Brooks called New Criticism. This was developed in America while Richards and Empson developed the practical criticism in England. However, in the 20th century, modern stylistics has its roots in Russian formalism of the early 20th century. This Russian formalism focused on the poetry. So, or focused on the poetic language and the study of its formal quality. So poetry is the favorite subject of the modern stylistics. So in our next lecture video, we will talk about the nature, scope, and significance of stylistics. But for now, I'll cut it here so that this topic will be separated from our next lecture video. So bye for now.